Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. We are doing February's wrap-up, and for someone who was in a reading slump for half of the month in February, I did not do too bad. So I ended up reading 20 books, with majority of my books being 4 stars, so not too bad. I did have one DNF and a handful of 1 stars and 5 5-star reads. So, not too shabby. We are going to talk about them in more detail. I'm going to go from my least favorite to my most favorite. I'm not going to be holding up any books because most of these I do not own anymore. I typically only keep books that I love or that I think I will reread, or usually only 5 stars. Sometimes a 4-star book will get through, because I'm like, that has potential for me to revisit it later. That type of thing. But I did a couple of big unhauls. Honestly, at first I was unhauling a lot because I thought we were going to have to move, and I mean, we do have to move, but I was trying to downsize and get some money, and I was going crazy for a little bit. Some might say I'm already there. But I was trying to help out with our finances, and it's not realistic of me to sell all my books to make a little bit of money, because in the long run I'm going to lose a lot of the value that I put into my books, for one. And for two, it's just not realistic. It's something that I do, I read books, I have a channel, so it just doesn't make sense for me to do that, and I realized that. But I did unhaul quite a few, and a lot of them were on this list. Some of these I never had because some of them were Kindle books, which is like pat on my back for that. Some of them were audiobooks. A couple of them were NetGalley. So we have a good mix of stuff. I'm going to start with my only DNF of the month. So this was on my self-destructing books list back in August. I kind of knew. I knew. Okay. Jurassic Park was my DNF. I made it like 140 pages into it, and I just can't with that book. It's not like the movie. It's very scientific and not at all what I was expecting. If you like the movie, stick with the movie. Then I have 4 1-star books. Typically what I do is I start with the worst of the worst and move my way up. I guess that would be Christina Lauren. I'm so sorry. I love them. But this book just didn't work for me, and that is The Honey Don't List. I thought it was inspired kind of by HGTV. It was about these assistants to this big HGTV couple. This HGTV couple, although it's not HGTV because, copyrights and stuff, but it is HGTV. But they're married, and their assistants are, tired of the fighting and tired of all that, so they kind of try and set them up together again. I think they try and make the assistants try to make the marriage work for the famous people, and then somehow they end up falling in love, and honestly, I just didn't buy it, and I really didn't care. It took me like 3 months to read this book. So I just, nope, don't recommend it. The Test by Sylvan Nuval, I think that's his name. This is such a short book that I can't really tell you much. I am going to tell you more than what other booktubers have said, because I got the recommendation from other booktubers and tried it and hated it. But basically it's this British citizenship test. It's like this dystopian future type thing. But during this test, this guy that is going through the test, like this very boring multiple choice question test, has a terrorist. There's a terrorist attack. And, yeah, that's all I can tell you, but it was terrible. The House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Mallorman. Oh my gosh, I know. This was also a 1-star read for me. I do not understand the hype on this one at all. You follow these 2 teenagers who are going on like a first date. It's very romantic. They're going on this lake, and somehow they go on to this other lake, and then this other lake, and it's like this, you know, they keep going into all these different lakes. And at the bottom of the lake, there is a house, and of course they go explore like one would. And no, it was just, honestly, it bothered me. It made me very uncomfortable, and maybe that is partially the point of the book, so maybe I shouldn't be judging it so harshly. And I know that, but it made me super uncomfortable to read the explicit sexual scenes between 2 teenagers. That just made me feel wrong. That made me feel like I was violating them, and like, no, it just didn't work for me. Don't care about that at all. The creepiness in the house, like, I just didn't understand it. I didn't care. And, you know, it's a matter of the book wasn't for me, and I know that because I read this as a buddy read, and Heather thought it was okay. I don't think she loved it, but she liked it more than I did, which is the last 1-star book that we have, so we can shake off all the negativeness, is You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno. Ooh. So, I thought this was going to be a hard-hitting young adult contemporary about this girl that gets raped and, like, the aftermath of that. This is not that, okay, so something does happen to our main character, Magpie, which, by the way, Magpie, weird name. But something does happen to her, and then she kind of starts writing as a coping mechanism, and she creates this other world in her writing, and I just hate those kind of books that have that writing element in it that, like, take you to this other world, and then you don't know which one is the real world and which one is the made-up world, and I just really didn't care. I was a little bit confused and lost, and it just wasn't for me, again. But okay, my 2-star picks are going to be very controversial, so I'm going to try to get through them very quick. So, I guess we'll start with my least favorite 2-star book, which was The Alchemist by Paolo something or other. It's like this adventure book It's kind of a classic. It's kind of trying to do too many things. I didn't care for the characters, and I just, no. Was actually arc from NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley for letting me read this. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. It was Do You Follow by J.D. Boyne, I think. Something like that. Yeah, it was just a very predictable thriller. I found the twist to not be very twisty. Not very surprising at all. I never connected to the characters, and I really didn't care about it, or her. But it's about this, like, girl who is a twin, and she hasn't spoken to her twin in a while, and then her twin shows back up in her life, and then creepy stuff happens, and I didn't care for it. The last 2-star book, which could have almost been a 3-star for me, was Places No One Knows. This is just a weird book. So it's got like lucid dreaming and yeah, it's just weird. And then I don't know which, again, like, I don't know which one is the lucid dream and which one is the real life, and it was confusing and just weird. Yeah. I think we only have one 3-star book. Then we have 4s and 5s. So 3-star was Homebody by Rupi Kaur. That was Rupi Kaur's newest poetry collection, and it just didn't pack a punch like her previous 2 did. They were fine, but to me they were a little bit generic. Okay, now we are on 4 stars. The Thing About Jellyfish. It was a middle grade that I finally read. It was a fun middle grade. I don't want to say fun because it's about grief. And it was very hard-hitting. It was very emotional, very raw. And I might have cried a little bit for it. I would recommend that one. It's not something that I see myself rereading, so I have since unhauled it, but I felt the impact of it. Then there's My Epic Spring Breakup. I gave that one 4 stars. It was a young adult contemporary romance about this girl who gets dumped, and then during spring break she goes on this crazy adventure and maybe finds the love, and she's just happens to be a computer coder, and yeah, so I found that interesting because I've never seen that in books before. So, all are by the same author, and they're all poetry collections. They're all 4 stars for me, and to be honest, I read them so close together that they kind of all merge. So I'm just going to list all of them right here and tell you as a whole what kind of stuff this author writes about. So the princess saves herself in this one. The mermaid's voice returns in this one. And Break Your Glass Slippers, all by Amanda Lovelace. They were good poetry. They're very emotional and raw and very tender to my heart. They're kind of about stereotyping females and about surviving things in your life and making yourself stronger and being the best human that you can be. Not only the best human, but also the best woman you can be. And they were just very empowering and very emotional and just feel good reads. Vacancy by K.R. Alexander. Heather actually sent this to me, and it's like a middle grade haunted house story. So for me, this whole book was going to be 3 stars. But then that ending just got me, and I did not see that ending coming. Therefore, it shocked me, and I just had to give it 4 stars. So it was actually a really fun haunted house book. If you tend to like those kind of books, I would recommend this one. And then my last 4 star, which is my favorite 4 star, which was almost a 5 star, but I don't know why it wasn't, so I have actually kept this one because I think someday I might want to revisit it. And that is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This is the first thriller I've read by this author. I know that she also is Erin Sterling, and she wrote like contemporary fantasy romance type book, and I've read that. But as Rachel Hawkins, she writes thrillers. I've never read a thriller by her until this one. So this is like a remote island isolation kind of trope with a bunch of people that you are going to hate, and you're not going to know who to trust. And I love that. I buddy read this with Amanda, only like we said we were going to take our time and buddy read it, and my jerkiness read it in like 1 day. I'm sorry, Amanda. Okay, and then our last 5 books are 5 stars. So 5 5-star reads. 5 5-star reads. So there's Between Shades of Grey by Ruda Sepetis. This surprised the heck out of me because it's a young adult historical fiction set around war, and I loved it. It was so heartfelt and so emotional, and I'm even willing to say that if you're like me and you don't typically like war books, you might like this one. Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur was a 5-star read. Like I said, I absolutely love her poetry. They're about like survivorship. They're about like surviving, and they're empowering and emotional and raw, and I feel like I've been saying that about all my favorite things today, but Milk and Honey is such a great poetry collection. If you want to cry your eyes out, read that book. Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Johnny Sun. This did its rounds on YouTube, BookTube, a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh my god, no, it's not going to be very good. You know, the more I think about it, the more I want to put it at 4 stars. So its rightful place is at 4 stars right before Reckless Girls. But it's still a very impactful, emotional read. So you follow this alien who is sent down to Earth to talk to humans, and instead of finding humans, he finds different creatures, and he talks to them about the meaning of life, and it's very like quotable and emotional, and you know, I think I just read it at the right time because I was a hot mess in February. I was everything seemed like it was going wrong. And although I don't have all the answers yet to a lot of what happened, I feel better emotionally about it. But, yeah, it just helped me get to a better state of mind. And I think that's all that we need. So you know what? I'm going to keep it at 5 stars. because at the time it helped me. I don't think upon reread, if I were to reread it, I don't think it would hold up as a 5-star. I'm predicting it would be like a 3 or a 4-star, but with the state of mind that I was in and everything, it was everything that I needed to hear. It just punched me right in the face, and that's exactly what I needed at that moment. Okay, and then we have 2 more 5 stars. They're both romances. Who am I? So one of them was a Kindle. I don't own it, but I wish I did. There is The Friend Zone by Abby Gymnzy. Very sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm sure I did. This follows this girl. I wish I could remember her name. But she is going through some hard things because she's about to have she's about to have surgery to help her feel better, but that means that she's not going to be able to have kids. And she might just find someone who really likes her about the time that she's supposed to have this surgery, because her sister is getting married and she is like the bridesmaid and her date is this groomsman. And when they meet, they talk about how having a big family is very important to both of them, and so they might fall in love together, but you know, she's too scared to tell him that she loves him or that she likes him or anything like that, because she knows how much he wants to have a family, and she knows that she can't give him that family. And see, that right there was earth-shattering to me, because I don't talk about this very much, but I want to be a mom more than anything in this world. I would give up teaching, which says a lot because I am happier than I've ever been at my job as a teacher. I love it. But I would give it up in order to be a mom. And my husband, he really wants kids. And if it were up to me, I would have 1,000,000 of them. I told him I wanted 7 kids. He only wants 2. So we're going to split it and we're going to have 4.5. Not sure how that's going to work. But there is like a huge probability that I can't have kids because of medical reasons, and that has always torn me up inside. Like, for a long time, okay, we've been dating since senior year of high school, but for a long time I was just like, you know, we have to break up so that you can go have kids. And he's like, what do you mean? I don't want kids if it's not with you. And I'm like, but I probably can't have kids. There's like a strong possibility that I won't be able to have kids. And he's like, you know, there's adoption, there's, you know, other ways to get pregnant, there's other things we can do. And that is a possibility, and it would be the same. It would be a dream come true to be a mom, even if it means adoption or, you know, egg implant. Never mind. You know, like surrogacy, things like that. It's just, it always broke my heart because I felt like he was settling for me when I knew he wanted to have kids. And so the friend zone just broke me emotionally because I saw myself. I felt heard. And I know everyone's going to be like, oh, well, the miscommunication trope is the worst. Yes, it is. And I do feel like there is that in this book. However, I can see that being real. Like, as someone who is going to have trouble having babies. I can see myself as that person. If I were in the dating world, I might not want to come out and say, oh, well, I really love you, or I really, really like you, but because I can't have kids, you know, I know there's no future. Because that's too hard, especially as someone who wants kids as much as I do, and I felt like this main character wanted kids, too. So I felt heard, I felt seen, and oh my gosh, if you have not read this book, please do. My favorite book of February was Well Met by Gymnzy. This follows this woman named Emily who kind of gets roped into doing the Renaissance Fair because her niece wants to do it, wants to volunteer at it, but she's too young to go by herself, so her aunt says, okay, I'll do it. And when she signs up, the, head honcho of the Renaissance Fair, Simon, is such a jerk. And you can definitely see the sparks flying. And it was so cute. It was supposed to be, hate to love, but I didn't really buy the hate from the beginning, so I guess take that with a grain of salt. And it was just such an adorable romance. It made me smile. It made me so happy. Now, some might say that my favorite was Friendzone. Some might say that my favorite was Well Met. I honestly don't know which one is my favorite. If editing, Alita has put in her planner which one is her favorite, then you can write it right here and let us know. There is a huge possibility that I will be putting both Well Met and Friendzone in as my favorite of the month because I'm allowed to do that if I can't pick. And I definitely can't pick. Well Met just made me happy. I just really enjoyed it. But Friendzone made me feel more. It made me feel something, and it broke my heart a little bit, but I felt seen. I felt heard. Oh my gosh. Okay, Friendzone is my top favorite. Well Met is right below it, but they're almost equal. I bet you that I put both of them as my favorite of the month. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me and watching this wrap up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, where we're always talking bookish things.